So let's carry on making this template of this little girl. But I think we might have to backspace because when I was going through your video, right near the end, we gave the dimensions of this little girl from the top to the bottom, but basically from the top of that to the bottom of that and the width. So what I did was I did a bit of a conversion, and the dimensions we've got are, you've mentioned, as just over 3 inches high by 2 4/8 inches wide. So I've done a conversion to millimeters, which I find, as I've mentioned, find a little bit more accurate. So now what we need to do is I think we need to do a bounding box, and a bounding box with these dimensions, and we're going to work within that. So we might need to backspace a little bit if this is not accurate. I think I might have to backspace quite a bit, and you'll have to follow quite a bit further back. I should have actually created these dimensions. This is after looking at your video all the way through. I should have not only created the tail dimensions, but the exact girl shape dimensions, which is going to be this red shape and this black shape, one with the tail, one without the tail. So I think the first thing I need to do is to create a bounding box, or the shape or the exact size box. So I'm going to create that first. So if I go in white space and I backspace, it's going to be a height of 76. So we want that the other way around. So we want this to be 62.992 and the height to be 76.26 high. And that's going to be our bounding box. So the girl's going to fit in that shape. But I think what I need to do again is to take off this fill and give it an outline so we can see it. Any old color doesn't really matter. Let's give it a darker color so we can see it. So let's start by making these two shapes the same dimensions. So I'm just going to select both, and I'm going to copy and paste both and leave those there for now. Doesn't really matter. And what I want to do is I want to align these, but if I align them vertically, you'll see the tail is a different shape. So I'm just going to, align them horizontally. So I'm just going to align them vertically and make sure that they are the same shape. So for the time being, I'm going to group them. And I'm going to drag this down and change the shape, the overall shape of this one. So if I zoom in to about there, move this down slightly, ignoring this tail, sorry about that, ignoring this tail, I'm going to now make these two shapes fit inside this shape box. So if I select those and I start to, you can see the faint blue lines here. If I start to move these around and reshape them, that's pretty much what we want. That's pretty much what we want on the right. Okay, and then this is governed by that little ear sticking out there. So I'm going to select that if I can and move that in a little bit. So that's basically our shape, ignoring the tail. So we've got our shape dimension or shape size done. So we can delete this shape box. We can actually ungroup these. Let me zoom out a little bit again, zooming out. And basically we're going to move this one again to there. It's going to replace that one above. And we can ungroup these. So if we go to Object, Ungroup, let's just move this one out of the way. And let's just Shift select that one, roughly going to be, and I'm just playing about here. I shouldn't really do that. So these are the exact dimensions. So we can delete those above. I'm going to delete those two, and I'm going to select both those and position them above again. So that's, now we have our tail the right dimension and we have our shapes the right dimensions. On to the next stage. So this next stage might look a little more complex, but fear not, we're going to get through this. We will take this a little bit slower, and typically with Illustrator there are a couple of ways of doing this. we're going to look at creating our acrylic wall and leaving a white gap or a transparent or a non-space between it. So the acrylic wall will start from this little tail. I don't know the exact thickness of the acrylic wall, but it'll probably end about here somewhere. But of course we don't want to use the tail because we're going to have to delete and clean up and join, etc. So let's use this black shape. So I'm going to copy it, paste it, and I'm going to move it down out of the way slightly. And then we're going to go to our offset path here. So it's offset path, and we know it's this dimension, 6.35, which is the 6.35 millimeters. And we're going to click on OK. So now we have both. But the outside is going to be, the black outside is going to be the white transparent. So our acrylic wall will start from the outside of this eventually. And that's going to be the next part of this. But anyway, let's get back to this building these templates, building the outer wall, and generally hiding things and rearranging our layers and making new layers. So here we go. What I've done is I've changed some of these layers and I've put all the text into one layer. We can actually hide that. I've brought the girl, complete girl, further forward. We can't see her at the moment. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. That's the, so basically I've put the girl into her own little layer. I'm going to put these two in a temporary, let's call it, let's double click it, temp shapes, whatever, temporary. And we want to, because we've selected those, we want to drag that into the temp. And let's see if those hide. I want to get rid of that one. We don't need that tail. And these two I'll still be working with, but they will ultimately go into their own layers, just so that we've got this more organized. So before we start, and I'm terribly excited as you can tell from my voice, before we carry on, you want to save as, and you don't want to save over. So save as ABC, whatever, version 3, version 2, whatever you want, so that you don't save over a previous one. But as you progress, it's a good idea to save A, B, and C, or whatever you choose. The other thing to do is to tidy up as you go. And we're basically tidying up. Otherwise, you're going to have so many layers. Some of them we'll delete on our final, but if we, again, save as and then go to the next one and save as. At the moment, we're going to be working on this layer. And we're going to carry on working on this, creating our outline. So if we look at this black solid, the outer wall, the outer edge that I've got selected here, is going to become our negative space. It's going to be the space between the center, which is our girl, and the wall, the acrylic wall. So I'm going to copy and paste because I want this to be the base, our flat base. And we'll probably add something to that. So let's go to Pathfinder, make that one shape, and I'm going to put it in its own layer. So it's going to be the background initially. So let's call it back or base. And we want to add that to the base at the moment. Select it, change the color. I didn't actually have it selected, did I? And there we go. Let's zoom out. There we go. Right, we've got our basic shapes. Now what we want to do is we want to knock out this one, or we want to build onto it. So either way, we can either knock it out with the Pathfinder, but then so it's building an inline as well, which we would have to knock out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to undo that and go back to our shape again. So basically what I want to do is I want to actually keep that wall, but at the same time. So this is a shape that we're going to build an outline to. Let's take that one, select it all, knock it out. The black is going to become our negative space. Well, let's give it something gray. So let's quickly put that in there. So that's going to be our negative space there when these things line up. And this is going to be our base. So this needs an area built onto the background. And I'm going to just go 30, I think. And there's our space. That's our outline or our base plate. So So we probably have to expand it. Expand, fill, add, and there it goes. That's our one shape. And we're going to change its color again. Let's make it a slightly nicer color. And that's going to be our base shape. Let's go to our layers. That's our base layer. This is our, let's switch off. Those two need to be separated, but I'm going to drag those above that base layer. So now if we go to outline, I'm just looking at, I'm going to have to go back to your video, I know that, but let me just see if we can get these working together. Get to align, okay, and I think that might be how we're going to do it. Let's go to preview mode. Yep, so that's going to be the negative space. Let's separate that, layers. We don't want to lock, we want the gray area. So I'm going to hide this, Command 3. I am going to select this as wall. Okay, and I'm going to unhide this, and I'm going to select this as build. Shape to build. And we're going to drag that over there. It's probably not shape to build, that's wall. Sorry, I'm going to double click that, call that wall. So the order would be the layers that we've got. So it's the red, the girl would be built on top of that, our negative shape, which is the gray, and our base shape, which is the green. And if we go to outline view, they should all sit very accurately on top of each other. If they're not, you might need to zoom in and place them by hand. You can see this one is marginally off, so let's go out again. Oh, in fact, we can lock those two. We're going to lock that, we're going to lock that. We can switch them off so you can see what is working. And we're going to use that one. Sorry, let me go back. And we're going to use that one and we're going to reposition it. So basically, it's using it by hand. If I go right out of here, we'll see. So we want to select it right on top of there. Come on. And that's it. That's our position. I'm zooming out because the others are locked. We can unlock them. Let's unlock them, unlock them. Let's go out of this outline view back into preview, and that's our 3 layers. Now we want to build a girl on top of that red layer. Let's pause for the moment, but that's our templates, and that's the order, I guess. That's the order of it. This one here, I think we're going to delete. I don't think I need that one. This is the temporary one, which we can also delete. This one here, I've made a mess, so I'm going to delete that one. And we've got the girl. We've got the temporary ones, which we can delete. And we've got the shape that we're going to build the girl on. We've got the wall, and we've got the base, and the temporary stick, which we can also get rid of, but I'll leave that in for the now. I'm just going to turn it off. And there's our add-ons. The temporary text we can get rid of. So that's basically our walls and our pretty much our final. And then we're going to build the girl into that red shape. So we can lock the others. So they're not, well, we can lock all of them actually, so they don't move.